The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
I am back, and you are comfortably zoned with me, the Zigzag Man, Alameda, California, celebrating 7 years of podcasting. Whoa. What better way to celebrate it than two of my favorite people. Peter Golenbock has not shown, but Sherry Davis returns to these microphones, the first female public address announcer in baseball history. My boyhood team, the Giants, became the San Francisco Giants, and Sherry got that job ahead of me. Long story. We'll talk about it. Sherry, you tried out.
But you don't hold that against me.
I would if it were anybody else in the world. I would not even talk to them, let alone put them on. And I certainly don't, because it led to good things for you, and it gave me the opportunity not to do the dream job of my life. So I
and it led to us meeting.
Right now, I had to go out and create the dream job of my life, which is hosting a podcast and running a podcast network of folks and putting that together. So it worked out well from that standpoint. I still would have loved the experience that you had. Tell us first what that when you tried out. When we tried out. Not just you and I, there were a bunch of us.
Well, there were 500 or so
right
there. But the problem was, Peter, hello.
Hello, it worked after about the 47th try.
What is that? Could it not be getting your tone on the phone or what? We'll try to work that out. Maybe we'll use a different number. Peter Golenbock has joined us. Peter, I'd like you to meet Sherry Davis. We just were chatting about her history of being the first female public address announcer in history. With my boyhood team, the Giants, moved to San Francisco. And Sherry and I both tried out for this position. And
you're kidding.
Sherry, absolutely. How many years ago was this, Sherry?
This was in 93.
93. Wow. And
who had the job?
People. Sherry was telling us, and I thought I did well. I really did. I got a lot. Got good feedback when I got off, and all of a sudden Sherry gets on, and this refreshing voice. Introduce Will Clark for us, Sherry.
Now batting,
1994.
first baseman, Will Clark.
This is great.
Love it.
Sherry, what prompted you? What gave you the idea that you could be the Giants' public address announcer? Had you done this for some other team or some other college?
No, never. Never done it in my life. But I was a theater major. I did have voice training, and I loved the Giants. And I just went out there on a lark to hear myself over the PA system there. I just thought it would be fun. It was a beautiful day, and I wanted to sit in the park and before the season started. But once I got there were 500 auditioners, and only 8 of them were women. And so that kind of got me going. I thought, well, why can't I be? It had never been an aspiration of mine. But once I got there,
where were these 500 people standing or sitting? How did you get 500 people?
They were in the stands. They were in the ballroom.
First they were in the parking lot. We lined up in the parking lot. and then they ushered us in, and we sat right behind home plate, or maybe in the upper deck behind home plate near the press box. And one by one.
So, Sherry, of the 500 people, were you third? Were you 94th? Were you 476th? How long did it take?
161.
So did they give each of you numbers?
Yeah.
They gave each of you numbers. What was your numbers, Ralph?
I don't remember.
High number? Low number?
Must have been lower.
Probably around 100. I and Sherry probably knew to show up early. And,
okay.
The first tenant of showbiz, be there. And so I assume it was a low number for me. Seemed like a long time, but they gave each of us the chance. They gave us a script. They introduced Dusty Baker, and
oh, you were there early then. By the time I got there, they were only letting us announce 2 batters because it was taking too long.
Oh, okay. Well,
so you were there early.
I guess it worked out for you. I'm still not at all. Like we were talking before you got here. Could you imagine what a great job they pay you every night, and you go there, and you went on the road with them one year, Sherry?
I went twice. My first year and my last year.
Oh,
got on a road trip.
And why did you go? Just for the fun of it?
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was great fun. I mean,
no, I'm saying could you have gone?
We were in Chicago, and you're on the plane with them, but a few guys came up and sat by me and talked with me, but they were in the back having their fun, so I was up with the radio guys and what have you.
Right.
And you got to the hotel, and you didn't even go in the airport. You went over the tarmac onto a bus, and we got there, and they gave you your key and your schedule, and I went to get in the elevator, and it was just packed with giants. So I just held up my hand like, oh, I'll wait. And they said, no, come on. So I wedged myself in there, and I thought, oh, dear Lord, just kill me now. I'll never be happier.
And, I want to ask Sherry a quick question. Who greased the way for you? Because you were the first, and a lot of people resented that. Traditionally they're used to the voice of the Yankees or whatever. Who greased the way, and who was really against you and didn't make it easy for you?
Well, you never knew who was going to support you and who wouldn't. One of my first interviews was a radio interview with Pete Rose. I thought,
right.
No. He's kind of a rough and ready guy. So my first statement to him was, I know you're a hard-nosed player. What do you think about a woman announcer? And he said, I played in Japan. I have no problem with it. All the announcers in Japan are women. So he was delightful to me. And I won't say names, but other people whom I expected to support me.
Say a name or two. Go ahead.
No, I can't. Because they're icons, actually. And
how iconic were they?
No more iconic than
they may be in the Hall of Fame.
Peter Golenbock. There's no more.
Ralphie, let her answer.
All right.
Well, they're in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
They were connected to the Giants. They didn't get in the Hall of Fame as a Giants player, so that eliminates 4 guys. I don't want to tarnish them.
And how did you know? And how did you know they were against you?
Well, because they snubbed me, and they refused to recognize me, and they were patronizing to me.
Oh. And was this the entire time you were there?
Well, they were only there 1 year, but
Okay.
That's just one person. I mean, you just didn't know who was going to support you and who wasn't. You you couldn't go by their personalities because you don't know what they're like off the field. Like,
Well, that's
I had that
absolutely
impression
true.
of Pete Rose, and it turns out he was
Right.
one of the guys who hosted black players in
Yes.
his home when they couldn't stay
No,
in
that's right.
hotels. One of the few white guys who did. So you really
That's
don't
correct.
know things about people, you know?
Right. Yes, that's right. That's exactly right.
So I can never tell.
Sure. And yet, on some level, it really didn't matter who liked you or didn't like you. I mean, you had a job to do, and apparently you did it very well.
Well, I love my job. It's like all jobs. So I was in theater a lot, and I would
Okay.
love the roles I got in the company I was with, but there was always some artistic director or someone who was an egomaniac or someone,
Right.
But, so you just concentrated on doing your work and loving what you do and just
Sure.
letting the rest roll off you.
So how many years did you do this?
7.
7.
They didn't take me to the new ballpark. They went with an AM DJ voice. They were going for the .com crowd, and
Oh, I see, yeah.
they wanted someone who was a cheerleader rather than an announcer.
Well, sure. No, these are the stupid reasons why people get hired and why people get fired. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Yeah. No, right. No,
It's all a matter of, marketing to them.
Without a doubt. Also, the other thing that happens is new people come in and they want, they get rid of the old people and they want their new people. And it's not necessarily better people, it's just different people. And unfortunately, people who love what they're doing are, I won't say they're the victims of it, but they're certainly the ones who get, shown the door. It's tough.
Yeah, I know. I was very sad not to go to the new ballpark, but anyhow.
Wow. So you started in 93?
93 to 99.
Was Barry there?
It was his first year. It was Dusty's first year as manager. It was a golden year where we won 103 games and didn't make the playoffs. That was before the wild card.
Wow.
It was Atlanta. Atlanta was in, of all divisions, the Western Division.
Yeah.
And that's
So tell me about Barry. I happen to be his biggest fan. Everybody else thinks I'm crazy. I think Barry was the greatest baseball player to ever play the game, and that includes Babe Ruth. So tell me what it was like to be with Barry.
Well, I didn't get to know him personally. He's very
No,
loose,
I didn't expect that you would, but you got to watch him. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say it was a joy to watch him in those earlier days before he bulked up, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
He was much more of an all-around player back then, and just a delight to watch. I'll tell you what Lon Simmons said when he was asked if Barry was the best player of all time. And I think he paused a little bit, and he says, if he'd run out his hits to first base, maybe.
Yeah, but he had how many?
He had an attitude problem. He had an attitude
he did.
problem, and it detracted from his play, unfortunately.
No question about it. I knew his father. I said, Bobby, why is your son such a son of a bitch? And Bobby said to me he was like that when he came out of his mother.
Yeah,
but
he's always been like that from what I understand. Bobby was delightful to me. Bobby was the hitting coach while I was there. And he was just the sweetest man in the world to me.
I don't doubt
that
at all.
Bobby Jr., Barry's older brother, who got a late start in baseball, I got to know him when he was a minor leaguer, and I was the Tops representative. And he, too, once you cut through that outer layer of just that bonds thing, he had to be Barry's younger brother. He's sweet as hell. He was as nice a kid as one can imagine.
Yeah.
But I think that bitterness was passed on by their godfather, Willie Mays.
I think you're absolutely right about that. Willie Mays is the most bitter person of all the great players. Willie Mays could not stand the fact that in his best year he made $110,000 a year, and these young whippersnappers were making $10 million. And the fact that Willie lives in this magnificent home in the outskirts of San Francisco, but he's jealous as hell of all the money these new guys are making. It's terrible.
Well,
terrible,
but when he was playing, his teammates liked him, though, right?
Oh,
Liked Willie?
when Willie was playing for the Mets, which was at the very end of his career, the sports writers were talking about, oh, Willie's over the hill, Willie can't play anymore. Well, I spoke to 4 or 5 of them for this book I did on the Mets called Amazing. And all of those guys said the same thing. He says, he may be over the hill, but he is the very best baseball player on our team. This guy's just phenomenal.
And he helped young guys.
He did.
See, that's the big difference between Willie and Barry.
I agree.
Barry's teammates didn't like him.
Well, Barry
had very few friends.
He claustrophobiazed himself. He separated himself from his teammates for some reason.
And
he was the guy with a big rocker in the locker room. He had a big recliner in the corner of the locker room. And everybody else was sitting on stools, basically. And
I think it was one of those high-priced massager chairs.
I think you're right.
Right.
Did you notice at some point that Barry had this giant entourage?
Well, I never saw that because I didn't see Barry. You know, Barry.
Oh, you didn't get to go into the clubhouse much.
I had no reason to, so I didn't.
That's true.
I was down on the field very rarely. I didn't want to take advantage of my position, but every so often I'd sneak down for batting practice.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. So who were the people in the giant front office who you were closest to?
A woman who worked in PR, Robin Carr, was very helpful to me my first year because she told it like it was. If someone treated me badly, she'd say, "Oh, he's a weasel. He's a this." So helped.
Okay.
You know. And a lot of the people in the PR department and in community relations were good to me.
Now, were you responsible for doing some of that as well?
Well, not through the Giants. They never sent me out anywhere. I would get at least 30 speaking appearances or what have you a year. They came directly to me. The Giants refused to send me out. I don't know why.
Oh, isn't that bizarre? That's really bizarre.
Yeah.
So, you know, the fellow who was the Yankee announcer was only there for 50 or 60 years, so people got to know who he was. How did they know you were the voice?
Well, I'll tell you, and Ralph can probably back this up, when I finished announcing my 2 batters, I got applause. And I don't think very many people that day did. And when I started going back to my seat, people were saying, "Ooh, that's a good voice. Is that you? A good voice."
How did they know?
And when I left, my section was chanting my number. That's how come I remember my number, because they were chanting 161, 161.
Oh, on
the
day you tried out. You're talking about the day you tried out.
The day I tried out.
Now,
but I didn't get it right away. I had to come back and audition with 8 other guys.
Oh, so there were 9 finalists?
Mm-hmm. And of the 9, 7...
Were there any other women's finalists?
No. But of the 9, 7 either worked in the voice trade or had voice training.
Wow.
It was easy to... You'd hear 10, 15, 20 people announce 2 batters, and every so often you go, "Oh, that's a good voice." You could hear it. You could hear people who had training.
No question about it.
And you had to have knowledge of the game. You had to have knowledge, because when we came back, they just gave us national anthem, so-and-so, line up first, second. So you had to know. And now, as announced by manager, Dusty Baker, here's the starting. You know, you had to know how to put it in baseballese and put trick names in there. You know?
Well, what was your sort of training, in a sense, for your knowledge of baseball? Where did you learn the game?
I learned the game primarily from Hank Greenwald, going to the games and listening on my little radio headset.
Wow.
And by reading the Sporting Green every day and by reading baseball literature. I fell for it. I wasn't raised with it. I was a ballerina and a theater person and played the piano and Sports
Wow.
were kind of not what a little Southern girl bothered her pretty head about.
Southern girl from where?
Virginia, Newport News, Virginia, Tidewater, the southern tip
How
of
in the
Virginia.
world did you get from Newport News, Virginia, to a place like San Francisco?
I escaped.
Well, you could have escaped anywhere. You could have gone to Santa Fe. You could have gone to Austin. You could have gone to Seattle. Why San Francisco?
A girlfriend taught me into driving her cross country to outside of Santa Cruz, and I needed a change. I'd done about all I could do in theater there, and I needed something new and something vibrant.
Right.
So.
And so you make this cross country trip, and then you stayed.
Oh yeah, I lived in a tree house in the redwoods for a year when I first came out. It was the exact
that seems to be perfect,
of everything.
Perfect training.
Everything.
Perfect training to be the PR announcer. Sure.
Yes.
PA announcer. Wow.
I mean, it was the exact opposite of my life in Virginia.
I can imagine.
And Peter, she was in
Treehouse.
law. She was a
legal secretary. Legal secretary.
Legal secretary.
Oh, so
you have a.
So you actually had a fallback. You had a fallback position. Wow.
I did that even during the Giants when they would
Makes sense.
go out of town. I would temp, and in the winter I'd work full time.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I had to do that. Yeah.
Sure. Did they pay you
I wondered
decently?
how you did that.
Well, they didn't pay you enough to live on.
I see.
No.
No, but I wonder you didn't have to take time off from work to do your job. To do
well,
the Giants.
my first year.
That's a great idea.
My first year was horrific. I worked for the attorney who had the most billable hours in the firm, and I didn't take off. I worked full time, and I did over 300 interviews that year. And my mother was dying back in Virginia, so I was flying back and forth to Virginia. That first year was kind of horrific, to tell you the truth. It was the best of times, the worst of times type of thing, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, that first year was tough.
Yeah.
And then the second
Peter,
year.
let me give you an idea of how baseball is in Sherry's blood as it is in ours.
Okay.
She gifted me the book, The Universal Baseball Association Incorporated.
Oh, one of my favorites as well. Yes.
I love that book.
Yeah, well, he's playing dice baseball. He was a dice baseball player. Yeah, I know the game, the book very, very well. One of my favorites as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's right up there.
Spectacular, spectacular book.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Oh yeah, yeah. I was a big. What was the game we played? Two or three letters.
ABBA.
Was that a Long Island? Was that a Long Island where every player had a different card? And
right.
You threw
it was ABBA
3 or 4.
Or Stratomatic.
APBA, that's what it was. No, APBA and Stratomatic, both of those. I think I played APBA the most, where every player had a different card, and every year you got a different set of cards. Brilliant game.
I did that same thing in Joe Torre's autobiography. He talks about learning to manage as a kid, playing head to head against his friends.
Yeah.
He'd learn to keep you cool, and he'd always have friends turning over the board. He said it would make him happy if he get them to just jump up and turn over the whole board. But so there are great baseball minds that come out of dice baseball. No other sport where you can recreate a player's ability in a game than baseball.
Yeah.
All these statistics and these cards would reflect them, and it was just great growing up with that learning experience.
Now, Torre is a very interesting person because he learned his baseball from APBA. He learned how to handle George Steinbrenner because his father was an abusive, child beater.
Wow.
Torre learned in all sorts of different ways. And was probably one of the greatest managers the Yankees ever had.
I contend that Torrey could handle Steinbrenner because of his faith, and his sister was a sister, if you will, and that family was very, very religious. And Sherry will tell you there's something peaceful about Catholicism to go along with the rest of it, and we don't have to get into that.
I would tell you that George Steinbrenner didn't care at all whether you were religious or not religious. George Steinbrenner is exactly like Trump. What Torrey figured out very early was that you don't criticize George Steinbrenner in the newspaper ever if you want to keep your job, which was something that Billy Martin couldn't do. That's why Billy got himself fired 5 times. But Torrey was smart enough to know that if he had a criticism, he would take Steinbrenner into the room all by himself, and they would hash it out just person to person without anybody else finding out. And that, more than his religion, is how he managed to keep his job. I promise you.
Okay, now
he had a good
but
temperament.
It brought him the peace, not that it helped with Steinbrenner.
Oh, that may be. He needed. If he didn't end up a drunk or a drug addict, he was one of the very, very few, and I suspect it was his religion that prevented that from happening.
Right.
So you're right.
You or I would have punched the bastard in the face long before. And Billy Martin, I can't believe Billy Martin it never came to blows that way. I wonder if it came close. No bigger expert to ask than Peter Golenbock. My God.
Yeah, Billy had a very strange relationship with Steinbrenner because Billy was envious of the fact that Steinbrenner had so much money. And so Billy, there was a part of Billy that admired Steinbrenner tremendously. And, of course, there was the part of Billy who absolutely hated him with a passion because Steinbrenner was always second-guessing him, and Billy well knew that he knew more baseball than Steinbrenner would ever learn in his entire life. And so Steinbrenner couldn't stand the fact that Billy was the fan favorite. He's sort of like Trump. He wanted to be in the newspaper every day, and he wanted it to be Steinbrenner's Yankees, not Martin's Yankees. And that was hard when you have a manager like Billy Martin because the fans absolutely loved him, and Steinbrenner couldn't stand that. And so I think what happened, quite frankly, was rather inevitable.
Yeah.
But he taught
I have a little funny aside for you. I was at an A's Red Sox game, and a Boston fan went by with a jacket with Steinbrenner written across it, and underneath it the number 666.
Oh, that's just fabulous. So after they let you go, could you make an argument, hey, please don't do this, or did you just have to walk?
They didn't even let me know I had been fired when they were having tryouts for my position. They never contacted me directly. No, I had no.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
I had nothing.
And so how many years ago? This was the year 2000 that you departed?
99 was my last season. Yeah.
99. So tell me about 99, the last year, and about Barry and all the things that happened.
Well, one of my fondest memories that includes Barry and Willie Mays and Andre Dawson.
Okay.
Barry became, I think it was a member of the 30-30 club.
Right.
And there were only 2 other players, Andre and Willie, who were in it.
Yep.
So I was always an Andre Dawson fan. The fact that he had to ice his knees before and after games, and the fact that he gave the Cubs a signed contract with no figures put in. He just loved the game and wanted to play. I was just a huge Andre Dawson fan. So I got to know. They call him the Hawk, Andre Dawson. So I got
you got to say that. Whoa, Sherry.
I loved it. So I got
cool.
to know all three of them. And I must admit, though, I enjoyed Barry earlier in his career rather than later. I'm not a big home run, that's all there is kind of gal.
Okay. And yet, I can tell you, because I've watched this over and over again, the times, for instance, where Barry would get up with the bases loaded and they would walk him.
Oh, I know.
I would just think that was amazing.
Yeah.
Or he would get up in a key moment and put the ball, over the fence, and you just go.
There was a point he was so locked in a 5-year period.
Right.
You couldn't pitch to
Yeah.
him. He was absolutely. You had to walk him or hit him.
One or the other. He had a small bat, a short bat. He choked up a little bit. He had the quickest wrists, and he must have been powerful as a bull, because he would hit bombs. It was just amazing.
Oh, he hit him into the bay.
Yes, he would hit him into the bay. I love the little kayaks, paddling around to get the ball. It was amazing. It was absolutely
They have
amazing.
stats about how many people have hit the ball into the bay. I don't know what the numbers are. His are about 10 times more than anybody who ever played, or even more, some outlandish figure. That's a pop.
Splash hits, they call them splash hits.
Splash hits. So tell me, because I can't remember, how many home runs did Barry have in his career? 900 and something?
790 something?
790
I think it's near 7 something, yeah.
I think it was 790 something.
790 something, yeah. It's just, people should talk about him more. It always upsets me when they don't. Well, he just, he took steroids, or, he was on the stuff. It's like, yeah, but you still got to hit the ball, for crying out loud.
And remember, the relief pitchers he was batting against took steroids.
Of course.
But if you're taking human growth hormone, you can see the ball better, and you also have quicker reflexes. So it does help. And steroids help you to hit it further. So I'm not so upset about him and to recover from injuries. But I'm upset about Armando Rios and Marvin Bernard, little guys who were on the edge of the bubble and who felt like they had to take steroids to compete. And I remember the time when shortstops weren't expected to hit home runs, but once the steroid era came in, everybody had to get on the stuff because everybody was expected to hit home runs. No more batting the guy over,
It's a professional game. And if you expect to make money, you've got to do what you have to do it. And I agree with you 100% that for some of these guys it isn't fair. But, like I said, they're adults.
That's saying the end justifies the means, that, you have to be expected to ruin your body in order to succeed.
Well, what I understand and what I've seen is that if you do it under doctor's care, you're not ruining your body at all. That the wrestlers, for instance, who stack these things end up dead at age 55, all the professional wrestlers. But I still have not...
It breaks down your system, Peter. One way or the other, it is really debilitating to...
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens to Barry and to all of these other fellows who took these drugs while they were players, to see if they make it to age 75. It'll be very interesting to see. Until that happens, we just don't really know.
Sadly, I think we have a test case, because
one test case
before Barry became a giant, and Bobby was hired as a batting coach, and he was a paunchy, middle-aged guy. And if you look at Bobby Bonds as a batting coach, he got ripped as well. And he died of cancer. And I'm
he died of cancer. Ralphie, he died of cancer
Yes.
because he drank and drank and drank and drank and drank. It's why he was on 10 different teams. The Yankees had him as a leadoff hitter. He was a 30-30 player for the Yankees, and they got rid of him because he drank. And when he got drunk, he was obnoxious and awful and terrible in the clubhouse, and they got rid of him. He didn't die because he took steroids. I promise you. He died because
And
he
he
was drinking.
probably smoked as well, yes.
Probably.
And they all took bennies.
Oh, wow. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
I did a book with Pete Rose, who I love dearly, just the same way you do. And he was telling me during that World Series in 81, he was with the Phillies. He said, this whole team, we were taking these, what do they call them? Greenies? We were taking greenies before every game. And because the greenies made them feel alive. And so, it's I don't know. I've got very mixed feelings about it. If you're an adult and you're a professional, it's sort of going back to the old Vince Lombardi, just win. And that's what they do. And I don't care whatever laws
I can't go by that philosophy.
No, I know that. But I'm just...
These guys have a responsibility as heroes, whether or not it's self-imposed or whatever. But what are they telling high school kids? And
Ralphie, that's something sports writers make up. That's just something sports writers make up. These guys, in their own minds, have a responsibility to go out and play the best that they can, so they can make as much money as they can. That's what it comes down to. These guys aren't thinking.
Well,
are you there? Hello?
I think we lost Peter.
Oh, no. Peter?
It's possible because the way it just went out, we lost him.
Huh.
So,
well, I don't want to really continue
let us
without him being there to.
Oh, absolutely.
I can try again.
I'm gonna put us on hold.
Am I back?
And
you're
back.
I'm back. I didn't go anywhere.
Oh, it sounded like you got cut off.
I could hear you perfectly, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad you're back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. It's also time to go. It's time to go.
This was tremendous. Yes. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Peter.
My pleasure, as always, Ralphie.
We'll do it again next Sunday night, God be willing. And Sherry will be friends forever.
Absolutely. Take care.
Absolutely.
Good night.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening. It is Golenbock University. That's what it turned into. And I'm Ralph Tycho, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. Adios, everybody. The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.